That's a perfect shape, isn't it?
Well, I mean, you know, if you could just run down there and put 4 of them side by side for the 4 days, you'd pay anything, actually.
Well, what a golfer we're seeing right now. There's no golf course that he can't dominate, in my opinion.
There's a swing for you.
Lovely, lazy, soft cuts.
I've put a list down, my own list, who's going to win this championship, and he's certainly in it with the short game he possesses.
First Open at St Andrews for Jon Rahm. This is his 6th Open. Tied 3rd last year. That was his best performance by far at Royal St George's. So what do you think? What do you think of his chances?
I think very good. You know, he's a quick learner too. I mean, we know St Andrews how much you've got to take in and absorb. And you know, some guys it takes years and years to get to appreciate it, to love it, to understand it. But I think Jon Rahm, he's a pretty sharp learner, and it helps when you can hit the ball to, you know, onto a sixpence whenever you want it, because course management around here and you know, just thinking your way around is just huge, and he's a good thinker.
Yeah, we're waiting for him to really explode on the Open scene. Won a couple of Irish Opens. Let's have a look at his numbers. Not coming up just yet. We'll get the next one.
I think the one thing he has to do, having watched him last week at the Genesis Scottish Open, he's got to try and accept the bad bounces more, because I mean he was pretty explosive.
He was hot last week, wasn't he?
Was he hot? He was like a volcano. And I think, you know, if you're going to do well on links courses, you have to just accept that some bad shots will get good bounces and some great shots will get lousy bounces.
Speaking from 2 hotheads, we know all about it, don't we? You need a bit of fire in this game, and he certainly got that. But he seemed to be noticing everything going on around him last week. It just wasn't quite settled.
No,
I'm hoping he's got that out of him.
Yeah. He does seem to notice a lot, doesn't he? You know, he notices a butterfly hiccuping at 200 yards, and you've got to try and block that out. And he's got great focus. You don't win majors without that sort of focus. He is driven. He's got the game, but if he can just stay calm out there, you know, as you say, Jamie, coming from 2 guys who were renowned for being fairly warm, it's easy to postulate. And
I can't criticise.
Be theoretical. No, we can't.
I like to see a bit of fire, but I just thought he was just getting distracted too easily last week. Come on, John, step it up on this one. I'm sure you've got more in him than 171 at ball speed. There you go, 178, that's more like it. That's going to carry a bit further. But he does like hitting that low ball flight as well, Rahm. This is superimposed onto the 17th. He liked that one all day long, 309 down the left-hand side, cutting back to the fairway on 17. It's what you do with your second shot that counts.
Yeah, one of the iconic holes, isn't it?
How far right do you go there on 17?
Well, we were trying to work it out yesterday, Jamie. You know, this back tee here now, it's a slightly different angle. In our day, the H-in Hotel was the perfect line every time. But these guys hit it so far now. You know, the tee's a little further over to the right, a tiny bit, so...
He's having another go.
He's having another go, and there's the shape.
That's the perfect shape, isn't it?
Well, I mean, you know, if you could just run down there and put 4 of them side by side for the 4 days, well, you'd pay anything, actually.
Now, there's a swing for you. Collin Morikawa, he was unbelievably exploded onto our scenes. The most accurate player. So he did a test, which was sort of a ball striking test, an accuracy test. And with his 6-iron, he was the same as his peers' 9-irons. That's his, what they call proximity to the hole. So there was a time where that was as close to, let's call it like an autopilot swing. Plays off a strong grip, plays off a shut face with lots of hip rotation.
See, I think that's a weak grip. I think that's a weak left hand, not a strong grip. And a bowed left wrist at the top. I don't call that a strong grip. Right hand's a little right round, but looking at the left, it's a long left thumb,
yeah,
and a very flat left wrist.
Do you know what? That is one of the funny things. I mean, like when we were sort of out there, early 90s, I mean, people worked hard on their grips. And now, if you walk up and down that driving range, you see some grips where you go, wow, that's really like a shocker. I mean, Seve put his hands on the club in a beautiful way. You know, so it has changed. It's so much more about the speed. So here we go, Morikawa. Kind of get that bowed left wrist at the top and then hold that angle. Lots of hip rotation back. Watch that left hip kick. And that is a toe hook left. So, misstrike there. Go for you can see maybe he was going for a lower shot there. So, 165, kind of very standard out here for the PGA Tour players. Let's see what he's got here. Nice high tee, gonna kind of launch it up.
It's a very slow, almost Hideki Matsuyama purposeful backswing. There's not much oomph away from the ball with Morikawa.
No, I think that's right, and I think it's kind of like it's tempo, isn't it? It's such a tempo move. You're not going to hit the ball in the backswing, so you don't go fast in the backswing. So 290 carry, ball speed 68, a little bit faster than the PGA Tour average, and higher 114. So who else? Justin Thomas, he'd be a 120 apex. Bryson DeChambeau, if we get to see him, he can get it to 140. So here we go, the Morikawa swing again. Trying to take, well, he's been changing his pattern. He said that a couple of weeks ago. You basically never ever hit the ball from right to left, but now he's got a few of those in there.
I find that quite interesting that he would go from a stock fade, which is the way you see everything sliding from left to right, and all of a sudden you think, right, I'm going to start drawing it.
I think
it's, for him, that's a big change.
Well, I think, and he's finding that. I think the thing about it is he's been trying to force the fade and it hasn't been in there. So he's actually sort of, you know, the draw has come from something in the way the face to path is working. Does he not quite get as rotated? Like for me, his bad shot is when he almost rotates backwards, almost rotates his left hip so far out the way that he falls backwards. So speed, hips always beat hands. Don't go left. That's a beautiful shot.
But like Justin Thomas,
Well, what a golfer we're seeing right now, Shane Lowry. And there's our winner from last week, Xander Schauffele, right behind him on the phone.
Yeah, where are my clubs?
Yeah,
I'm on the range. Where are my clubs? Full swings from Lowry. Hips all the way through it. Okay, let's have a closer look here. So 8 iron, so let's say, I think that could be an 8 or a 7 iron for Shane Lowry, 120 ball speed. Let's have it as an 8 iron.
Definitely 8 iron, Simon. That's a good yardage for him. Flat carry, 165 yards, ball speed nice and 120. He's not pushing it. That's just nice soft swings.
It looks like a pretty relaxed team, doesn't it?
Yeah, a little soft draw, 6 foot. Curve on the ball, that's next to nothing out there. I mean, there's not a breath of wind out there at the moment, Simon.
No,
nothing.
And when would you ever say that?
I know.
Firm and fast. Does the wind make it? Does Lowry have a better chance in windy conditions? Are there wind specialists? Is he one of those?
You know he is, Simon. You know he is. He's a wind specialist without question. I mean, he would thrive on, if it was 15, 25 mile an hour wind, he's rolling up the sleeves and saying game on. You know, if it's died down, it brings so many more players into the fold without question.
So Shane Lowry just moving through his clubs. Looks like a little stronger face there. See what we've got here.
Oh,
is this like moved up 2 clubs, do you think?
Yeah, he's
So
going to
6
shape
iron?
this one. Here we go. Yeah, there we go. 136 miles an hour. And here we go. He's just tonked it there. 205 yards. That's a 6 iron all day long. Just going through the paces.
Kind of keeping his apex exactly the same, so not too many shot shapes. Let's see if he starts to move it around a little bit. No, that's the one that's launched again there. So nice high flight. 106. Does that land softly? What's going to be the shots this week? You're going to need all sorts of different skills.
DJ, that beautiful brown bag that they produced specially for this week. A lot of the companies have a special Open Championship bag that they manufacture, different head covers. It was always a lovely thing to get in the Open Championship and get there, and they give you a bag for the week.
Yeah.
Just hitting sand wedge here, just working through the wedges. This is the area of the game that's transformed him over the last 3 or 4 years.
Hang time there of 4.1 seconds. Only hitting 85 yards though. Now, 12 Opens, so this is obviously his 13th appearance, 4 top 10s. And it was a runner-up in 2011, which was at St George's. You're pointing at the screen, Mark. What are you trying to say?
I spotted Claude, that was all, with the sunglasses. I couldn't figure out who it was for a start. It was Claude Harmon in the background there. But DJ, you know, with those wedges, it's amazing. He can be hitting 85, 90 yards, and that's what he does. He starts off with these really soft wedges by his stance, and he puts so much cut on them. It's amazing. It's like a little soft drop fade when you watch him hit them, and that's how he's learnt to control the distance over the years, to soften that flight out on the wedges. He's got so much power, so much length, but he learnt and worked and really grafted hard to get the feeling of that little sort of soft fade with the wedge and a softer flight.
How important, or how much difference do you think a yardage book would make to your score if you didn't have one? As these top pros, when it's really windy.
It is more creative in the wind,
Massively.
boxy, you know, there's no doubt about that. I mean, especially on a course like this. I mean, your yardage book, yes, of course, you give me the yardage, and downwind, rock hard, you could be landing it 60 short the green.
Easy.
You know, so there's a lot of visualisation, creativity. He just slid these lovely, lazy, soft cuts. Not a deceleration, it's a constant speed. And it's like a little drop fade, and he's got that on a piece of string. Really is. And they're working to control the distance to a point. As we've heard a lot about Tim Barter and Richard Bland, how they practice the wedges with a TrackMan, and you can have a setting on the TrackMan that gives you random distances, and you try to hit those distances, and it tells you exactly what your carry is. He's more just, he's hitting the same spots here all the time.
Jordan Spieth, 2017 Open champion, out on the range, and the wind today off the left-hand side, hard radar. It's difficult wind to practice in, yeah?
It's always the same here, Tim. Hello, everyone. Yeah, it's over your left shoulder. And I never did. The 2 Opens I played here at St Andrews, I never spent too much time on the range because it was always left to right, and it can just rehearse an over-the-top shot. So it's not an ideal wind by any means.
Yeah, the players really don't enjoy the wind into their back. As Wayne says, there's a really strong tendency to swing the club to the left to try and counter the fact the wind's going to blow the ball across from left to right. An over-the-top move, it's often called, and it really can spoil your golf swing, get you too steep into the ball. And I remember once at Wentworth going down to the World Match Play Championship and being told by the guy on the range that Jack Nicklaus had actually refused to practice in the left to right wind. He wanted to go down the other end, but he wasn't allowed to. Jordan going through his routine there with a medium iron. You can see flat carry of 173 yards. He's got this peculiar move that he's making, Wayne, up to the top of the backswing and rehearsing what he wants to do. But he's swinging the club really well, isn't he?
He's one of the guys, top 15. I've put a list down, my own list, who's going to win this championship, and he's certainly in it. With the short game he possesses, he is certainly a chance of lifting the claret jump for the second time. Yeah, he rehearses the over-the-top move because he obviously comes from in to out, and he just wants to get more of an over-the-top move, get it over the top, hang on, and slide it from left to right. And since he's been doing it, he's improved his driving so much, and he's strengthened his grip a lot. He had a very weak no-knuckle grip, we call it. Ideally, you want a 2. In modern-day golf, you want 3, but he's to 1 now, and it's improving his driving so much.
Such a difficult thing to do, though, to actually change your grip, because, you know, he's grown up with that grip throughout his life, working with his coach Cameron, and obviously that's the way he feels comfortable. It's like the way you hold your knife and fork or your pen. It's a really difficult thing to change because it's going to feel completely alien to start with, and it doesn't match your swing to begin with either, so it's going to affect the club face positions all the way through the swing, and notably at impact. So it's a really difficult thing to do, to change your grip, and as you say, he has done so. He's been through a fallow period where he lost his way a little bit in his golf swing, but he seems to be back on track now. His results are improving all the time. He's a winner again, and he's starting to build up that confidence that we know is so crucial at this level. Let's have a look at the swing here.
He's an amazing character. He plays golf right-handed, but if you watch this week or any week, he marks the ball left-handed, he tees it up left-handed, he does everything left-handed, but he's a right-handed golfer. Tom Watson was very much the same. He is very much the same. Tom was here yesterday for the Champions gig.
He was. Joy to see him. He just got married again last Saturday. Tom got married at the age of 72. So he's here on his honeymoon, effectively. There's the move we're talking about. He says, when I've spoken to him about it, that it helps him set the club the way he wants to set it. He helps the rhythm and the tempo of the swing that he wants to have. And it looks really peculiar, but it's obviously just a feeling that he has when he uses it that allows him to then make the swing he wants to make. And it's worked really well. I don't see him stopping it anytime soon. There's the move. You can see the club looks like it's wiggling around all over the place, but it's basically to counter what he does wrong. There's his coach behind him, Cameron McCormack, worked with him since he was a young boy. And it was great that he went through such a difficult period, having been a champion early and won major championships and got to the very top of the world rankings, and then really struggled with his game. But he stuck with his coach, he stuck with his caddy, he didn't make changes. And so many players do make changes, and they sort of think, well, I need a new coach, or I need a new caddy, or I need a new management company, whatever it might be, new clubs. But Jordan basically said, no, this is my issue, this is my problem, I will resolve it. And it took quite a while to get him back on track, but he's definitely one of the favourites here this week. Well, one of the good things about our channel is that we can use technology to show you what would happen to Jordan's shots that he's hitting on the range if he was to take them out onto the golf course. And we're going down the first hole here. It's a 356-yarder and a hole you know very well, Wayne. The widest fairway in the world?
Yeah, but it makes you very nervous when you're standing on it in the Open Championship. You know, you don't want to miss it out of bounds right, or you don't want to miss it out of bounds left. It's just one of those. But it's so very wide. It depends where the flag is. You know, if it's over there on the right-hand side, you want to pump it way right over there on the 18th fairway to open up the angle. You've got so many options off the tee.
So there's Jordan's hit that he's just made on the range. And we can see the effect that it has going down this first hole. We know the wind is hard off the left on the first 7 holes of the course today, so everything is going to be moving from left to right in the air. But obviously, as Wayne says, plenty of room over on the left-hand side to aim out there and allow the ball to feed backward towards the middle of the fairway.